Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Hausdorff Reads the Bible. Today I'm reading Genesis 3, and the entirety of today's reading is a section called The Fall, and I suppose this sort of wraps up the creation story. Genesis 1 was the creation of the earth and the heaven. Genesis 2 is the creation of man, and then this is the fall of man, and tomorrow starts with Cain and Abel, so I guess this is sort of rounds things off. Alright, so let's go ahead and dig right in. Now the serpent was more crafty than any other beast of the field that the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God actually say, 'You shall not eat of any tree in the garden'?" And the woman said to the serpent, "We may eat of the fruit of the tree in the garden, but God said, 'You shall not eat of the fruit of the tree that is in the midst of the garden, neither shall you touch it, lest you die.'" Alright, so a couple of things here. Yesterday, I noticed that God told Adam not to eat the forbidden fruit before Eve was around, and I was wondering if God came back around and told her as well, or what happened there. It's not really specific, but the point is she definitely got the message. Whether God came down and told him again, or Adam properly relayed the message, she clearly understood that she was not only supposed to not eat the fruit, she wasn't supposed to touch it, and also she got the message that if they ate the fruit, they would die. I suppose the commentary. By the way, all the commentary today is going to be from Guzik. That's the only one I read today. It takes a lot of time to dig through a bunch of them, so sometimes, if there's not any particular point that I want to get the extra verification, I just go with the one. Now, I remember yesterday's, it very specifically, "You will die that day." This one just says, "You should surely die." So I suppose, based on this, you might say, well, yeah, she's not going to live forever anymore. But yesterday's pretty clearly said that it was on that day. So yeah, the first thing I wanted to mention was, yes, she did get the message, so that part of my concern from yesterday I would consider answered. So good. Secondly, we have something from, something from Guzik. He says, well, we actually have a couple of things from him. First of all, he says that, quote, "Eve's first mistake was in even carrying on a discussion with the serpent. We are called to talk to the devil, but never have a discussion with him. We simply and strongly tell him, 'The Lord rebuke you!'" Sorry, there's an exclamation point in that, so I had to say it that way. His opinion is if you come across evil, you're not even supposed to talk to it. But of course, what's evil? I mean, that's really the key here. Or what if you don't know if something's evil? I mean, obviously Eve didn't know that the snake was evil because she hasn't eaten the fruit yet, which tells her what's good and evil. So basically, according to Guzik here, she's just not supposed to talk to anybody, I guess, except for Adam and God. The other thing was Guzik went off at he went on and on at length. It filled an entire screen on my computer. Basically talking about how Satan contradicted God. He was questioning whether or not if she ate the fruit, she would die. He said, he contradicted God. He said, "You won't die, you'll become smart like God. You'll become knowledgeable like God, and you won't die." And Guzik said, "Oh yeah, he contradicted God, this is evil." You know what he didn't address? The fact that the snake is right. The snake says, "You won't die. You will become knowledgeable." God says, "You will die." What happened? They don't die after they eat the fruit. So, what does that tell you? It tells me that God isn't necessarily the good character in this story because he lied. Okay. Alright, moving on. "For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. So when the woman saw the tree was good for food..." So the woman saw the tree was good for food. She saw it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise. She took of the fruit and ate, and she also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were open, and they knew they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves loincloths. So first, this is a theme that's coming up in these episodes here. I can't believe how quick this all happened. It was like, the snake was like, hey, that fruit looks pretty good. And she was like, oh. And then she just like ate some. Like, there wasn't a conversation. She gave some to Adam and he just ate it immediately. There was no conversation. And that, to me, is weird. And I think it's because I remember when I was growing up, we watched these cartoons in Sunday school. And I very distinctly remember a conversation. It was like Eve going over to Adam and being like, this fruit's really good. I mean, sorry, it's not, I think I said it's clear. It's not clear, it's very fuzzy, because this was when I was very little. But I definitely remember it wasn't just the snake saying, hey, that fruit looks good, and by the way, it'll make you smart. Or, it'll give you knowledge. And then Eve going, huh, all right, I'll eat it. And then just hands it to Adam and he eats it. Like, it was her going over to Adam and him kind of being like, God said we're not supposed to do that. She's like, eat it. And then he ate it, It was a little bit longer. It was definitely putting more blame on Eve. I mean, not that the book here doesn't blame Eve. It clearly does. But the videos that we watched as children definitely pushed that forward a little bit more. Okay, anyway. And they heard the sound of the Lord walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord among the trees in the garden. But the Lord God called to the man and said to him, where are you? And he said, I heard the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked and I hid myself. Let me pause there for a moment. Now, I've heard people say that this shows that God was not omniscient here because he was asking Adam where he was. And I think there's an argument to be made there, but I personally don't like it, and here's why. Suppose, let's think about a father and, let's say, a very young child, toddler, and the kid's hiding in the living room, let's say behind the couch. Does the dad come out and go, oh, you're behind the couch? Or does he go, where are you? You're hiding. What's up? Or if he knows the kid did something, if he knows the kid stole a cookie or something, I don't know. He's kind of like, what'd you do? Why are you hiding from me? And he knows everything, and he would still ask the question. So I think it's reasonable enough that, that's a reasonable enough explanation for this interaction that I wouldn't push it too hard. Is it necessarily what is meant? I don't know. I think it's also probably, maybe even likely, that the intention here was that God really didn't know and was asking him. But I don't really know. And I don't know. It's a small enough detail here that I don't really care. Okay, but that's, of course, my opinion. And I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with that, and so be it. There's nobody on this planet who I agree with everything they say, and I'm sure that everyone listening here disagrees with me from time to time. All right, anyway, let's move on from that little weird speech. Okay, back to God, who just heard from Adam that he hid himself because he was naked. And he said, who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree of which I commanded you not to eat? The man said, the woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me the fruit of the tree and I ate. Then the Lord God said to the woman, what is it that you have done? The woman said, the serpent deceived me and I ate. Okay, so this is something that I can remember from childhood as well. I can hear my dad's voice saying, even back then, the first reaction is to pass the buck. You're passing the buck to somebody else. So the whole thing here is that, God goes to Adam, Adam blames Eve, Eve blames the snake. I don't know, is she blaming, or are they just explaining what happened? I mean, maybe it is. I don't know, but that's something that really stuck with me. But I have something from Guzik here, which actually I got to give him some credit. He says, he basically says that, well, Eve isn't necessarily just shifting the blame here. It seems like she's just explaining it, which I think is, I tend to agree with that. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of blaming going on, but, you know, let's be honest, she was tricked. And if you were tricked into doing something wrong and somebody said, hey, what happened? You'd be like, I was tricked. So, like, what she said seems pretty reasonable. But then, Guza goes on, and he says, quote, the only problem comes when we fail to see that being deceived is sin in itself. So what the hell? Like, being tricked is a sin? That is insane to me. Like, the very idea that you can be tricked, and therefore, because you were tricked, you are liable to punishment. You are sinning because you were tricked. I say that's totally ludicrous, unacceptable. So, yeah, all right. That's about the long and the short of that. Let's move forward. The Lord said to the serpent, because you have done this, cursed are you above all livestock and above all beasts of the field. On your belly you shall go, and dust you shall eat all the days of your life. I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. So basically, he's taking away the snake's feet, which, it's weird that snakes had feet before that. But whatever, I mean, these old myths, I mean, if you read other ancient myths, they do this kind of crap. Not that I have a lot of experience reading old myths, but, you know, they give the history of various animals, and they're always kind of goofy like this. But it did make me wonder. I guess this was more of a joke than anything, but it made me laugh. So if you have a snake with feet, it's basically a salamander, right? So why are there still salamanders? Yeah, all right, anyway. Moving forward. To the woman he said, I will surely multiply your pain in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. Okay, so that seems like a little bit of an overreaction. I'm going to give you this horrible pain of childbirth. Oh, something else. Sorry, take a step back. Something else about the snake. It says that he eats dirt. You shall, and dust you shall eat the days of your life. I don't think that's accurate. I mean, snakes eat things other than dirt. I guess maybe they wind up eating some dirt as well, but that's I don't think any more than any other animal. Almost seems like the people writing this don't know anything about animals. Okay, so women, they have to bear pain of childbirth, and the desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you, which is a little weird to me. I don't really know what to make of that. I don't really say much, but I got some very interesting quotes from Guzik. So, first, just talking about women. He says, quote, under Jesus, some of the effects of the curse are relieved, and it has been the Christianizing of society that brought rights and dignity to women. And I went ahead and just put a link to my post on women and on what the New Testament says about women, because that's just ridiculous. Women are not treated well in the New Testament. Women are told to not speak in church. They're not allowed to speak. They should go home and ask their husband. I mean, is that moving forward? Is that what Christianity moves forward? And women in the church are always behind women in the rest of society. Of course, they catch up because at some point they're not going to stand for it. But they're always, 50 years behind or something. But he further comments, and he quotes somebody else named Barnhouse. So he says the following: your desire shall be for your so about the verse, your desire shall be for your husband. This is true of women in a way that it is not true for men. And then he quotes the other guy. Quote, this verse will be understood better when it is realized the desire of man towards his wife alone is solely by God's grace and not by nature. I'm not even really sure what to say about that. It is by nature for people to love their spouse, whether they're a man or a woman. And this attitude is I mean, just completely foreign to me. I don't even really know what to say. It's just kind of bizarre and weird, and honestly kind of sad for this guy's marriage, if he's married. I don't know. I don't really know what else to make of that, so let's just move on. Okay, so remember, these are Eve's punishment. Let's see what he has for Adam. And to Adam he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, you shall not eat it. Cursed is the ground because of you. In pain you shall eat of it the days of your life. Thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread, till you return to the ground. For out of it you were taken, and for you are dust, and dust you shall return. So, women have to endure childbirth, and men's punishment is that the land is cursed, and they have to work it. Is that balanced? I mean, I guess it's worse for women because this whole thing is their fault. But yeah, it's a little, I don't know, I found it amusing. It clearly shows the sexism inherent in the Bible. Okay, moving forward. The man called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living things. And the Lord God made for Adam and for his wife garments of skin and clothed them. So, interestingly, I've been calling her Eve the whole time because, well, we know that she's Eve. But this is the first time that her name comes up. Before, she was always called the woman or the wife or something. Okay. Then the Lord said, behold, the man has become like one of us in knowing good and evil. Now, lest he reach out his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. Therefore God sent him out from under the Garden of Eden to work the ground from which he was taken. He drove out the man, and at the east of the Garden of Eden he placed the cherubim and a flaming sword that turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life. So there's this tree of life in the garden, and now God is guarding it. He put a cherubim with a flaming sword to block it, and so nobody can get back in. So is it still there, or did that only last for a while? If it was only going to last for a while, why wouldn't he just get rid of it altogether? The whole thing's silly. It's obviously an ancient myth. Yeah. So I guess that's all we have to say about chapter 3. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow.